Matters is a program focusing on uniting and strengthening the family by providing valuable information on all facets of family life. In this monthly series, Raymond and Brenda Johnson will focus on the definition and importance of family. Hello and welcome to Family Matters. I'm Kyle Schwartz, and our guests are Reverend Raymond and Brenda Johnson as usual. And today we're going to be talking about stress and how it affects a marriage and how it affects the whole family in general. And stress affects everybody. And there's really no way around stress, right?
No, absolutely not. And we're in a season now as we're getting ready to go back to school, and so there's stress on the children, there's stress on the parents, there's a lot of stress going on right now. And one of the things, speaking about it from the perspective of parents looking at their children, understand that they're going to have stress. There's some children, like now, we're here at the high school, we deal with a lot of youth. Some of the youth who are transitioning to high school in the 9th grade, they're like bouncing off the walls. The thought of coming to the high school, this big building, and I don't know if I can handle big kids, right? Big building, big kids. Then there's the kids that are transitioning to the middle school, right? The 6th grade. So so now they're having the same stress that's going on.
And even in elementary, change into a different classroom and a different teacher, and you know,
and kids just going off to school for the first time, leaving their parents for the first time. And I know Brenda talks about that was sort of traumatic for her when she started school.
I wanted to stay home with my mom, and I cried every day, probably for the first couple of weeks.
Oh wow, that had to be hard on mom too.
Yeah, and I didn't want to walk to school with my sisters, so I would turn around and go back home, and she'd have to drive me to school.
So there's probably many of those kids like her out there that are stressing. See, but we don't even think about it. We might think about, oh, it's exciting, you're getting ready to go back to school, and not only progressing through, now we're at the high school here, you have the ones that are senior year, and all of a sudden they're going, holy cow, this is the last year, and whatever real life is going to look like for me is going to start in May.
Yeah.
And don't forget the college students.
And that's what I'm going to say. And then the next thing are the college students. Now the freshmen going into colleges, now all of a sudden they're on their own. You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny because the senior part, you think, oh, this is your last year, you know, you should enjoy it and you should, you know, work hard and blah, blah, blah. But it is funny that there are a number of kids that just kind of give up because they are so afraid of what they're going to do. They just really shut down their senior year.
Yeah, they shut down, and that is stress, right? You know what I mean? That's their response to stress. They don't have a plan. They have no clue because life, you know, last 12, 13 years, life is planned out for you.
Yeah.
Now people are asking you, now they're getting hammered with, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You know? And I'm here in the school, and the last 2 years, like last year, I ran into a young man in the guidance office, guidance counselor's office. I don't know him, I don't even know his name. I saw him, and he said, overheard him saying, I'm getting some information about college. And I said, oh, okay, you're getting ready to graduate. Now, this is like beginning of May, right? You know? I said, oh, you're getting ready to graduate? He said, yeah. I go, well, what are you going to do? Well, I guess I'm going to go to college. Where are you going to go to college? I don't know. What are you going to study? I don't know. Wow. I said, okay. You know what I mean? So he was
Can't even help you there.
And you know, the thing about that is, he is probably more the normal student.
Yeah.
That's what's bad about it, is he is probably the normal student, not the, you know.
And some kids just name something, you know, I want to be a veterinarian. They really don't even know what all it entails.
They don't know.
You know that student is probably not going to be able to do that, but they just think they have to say something.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they go, okay, I got to say. So, and part of what I do in our Lunch with a Leader, we had them do a project last year in there that helped them, whatever they said, veterinarian. Then they had a project where they had to research that. Do
That's
you
a good
even know
idea.
what that takes?
Yeah.
You had to research it. You had to interview someone that's currently doing it. So they had to go through this whole project, and then we interviewed them like they were applying for a job. They had to write a resume. So this
That's
is the
great
kind of
preparation,
exercise
yeah.
that every student, and what I've found, because I used to do it as an educator, I used to do it, what I found that when students would research it, a lot of them would go, whoa, I didn't know that's what it took.
Yeah.
And they go, well, I better change,
Right. Right.
because really I can't.
I thought I could do it in 2 years. I didn't know it was.
Yeah, I know it
8.
took 12, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to do that. So, so a lot of them would go, wow. So that's a worthwhile project for any student to do. One of the things I'll do this year is I'll have them do personality, the Myers-Briggs personality. Because they'll say they want to be something. Personality isn't everything, but personality will tell you a lot
If you
about
could make it in that profession,
where
right?
your strengths would be. So those are things to do. So talking about this stress, stress is positive, and one of the things they use eustress, the way I pronounce it, eustress is positive stress. Everyone has stress that's positive because stress helps you focus. Whether you're an athlete getting ready to play something, whether you're us doing this TV show, you know what I mean? The eustress is the positive stress that causes us to focus on
yeah.
what we're doing. And that energy narrows in what you're doing, and you're going to focus, and it'll cause you to be able to move forward in it. Distress is the opposite. If you don't have the proper tools, when then eustress comes up, the positive stress, what you just said earlier, you go into distress. You shut
You
down.
shut down, yeah.
Or you act out, or you know what I mean, all of these different kind of things that will happen to you. And when that happens, and Brenda May, let's look at some of these common stressors for teenagers, and we talk about that. There's all kinds of things that happen to teenagers that stress them out. And I know sometimes as parents we want to just tell them, get over it, you have a great life, you know what I mean, you don't have to do anything, right? But it's not that easy.
Some of the things that can be stressful is when you get into an argument with your siblings or your friends, and that causes stress for a lot of young people because they're so focused on what other people think of them.
Yeah.
So an argument with a sibling or a teen could really cause a lot of stress, and we may say, oh, it's nothing major, just share it, or no, it's nothing major, you can work this out. But for them it is really a big deal. We mentioned starting a new school, but maybe even moving to a new neighborhood or to a new home, and sometimes that tends to happen right before the school year starts, because if parents are relocating, they want to get where they're going before school starts, and sometimes those transitions happen over the summer.
Yeah.
So it's big changes for young people when they come back to school. And then some of them discover they need glasses or braces.
Oh,
That
yeah.
can
Change
And they
from
didn't
what-
have them last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And so they're coming back to school and they think that everybody's going to notice. Everybody's going to be focused on the fact that I got glasses.
Glasses.
Or that I have braces and I didn't have
And they
them
feel
last
so big
year.
when you
Yeah, well, yeah.
I must see these.
And it's something she mentioned that, and really what it is self-conscious, because all the other kids are actually worried about their own thing.
Right,
You-
they're
you know
not
what I
worried
mean?
about you, they're
Yeah,
worried
they're
about
not-
They're worried about their own.
Yeah, they
So
got
we
their
can
own
look at it
issues.
that way,
They
yeah.
have their own issues that
Yeah.
they're concerned about.
Yeah. Also, arguing with a parent, that's another huge stressor for young people, especially if it happens right before school. And the disagreement was about your clothing or about something at school or about homework. It just magnifies everything for the young person. If they don't have the tools to be able to handle the stress or know what to do with that stress, it could ruin their whole school day. So it's important to understand that.
We worked up in the city, I call it. We were in Maryland and suburbs of Washington, D.C., and Brenda actually worked in Washington, D.C. And in the one school district that I worked in, one of the things they went to, and the parents voted on it for each school, is they went to uniforms. So in the
That would
county I
relieve a lot
worked
of
in,
stress, I would think.
every school had went to uniforms. And that took care of a lot of stress.
I would think it would.
Because
yeah.
now, and it also took care of a lot of expenses. Because now you have on your blue top and tan, whatever,
Yeah.
all the schools had their colors, and all of a sudden that took a lot of pressure off of the kids who couldn't get the latest and the greatest styles and whatever.
Right.
So a simple thing like uniforms relieved a lot of pressure, on a lot of students.
Right. Some of the other changes that are happening in young people, of course, they're growing. They're growing, they're getting taller. Some of them have acne. They have their first experience with those type of breakouts, usually in middle school and high school. They come back to school and they're competing for sports. They're competing for different roles, maybe in the drama club and band seats, whatever
Right.
activity is going on. So all of that is stress, and all of these things happen at the beginning of the school year. Even getting your schedule correct.
Right.
That's a major thing in most schools. If something happens with school schedules, it could go on for weeks. And that's very stressful for a student to walk into the wrong classroom
Yes.
or either end up in one classroom and have to switch to another classroom after a week. So all of these things add to stress.
And we knew as former educators ourselves, all of a sudden a student walks into your classroom 2 or 3 weeks in, and now they're behind 2 or 3 weeks.
Right, right.
So
Talk about stress, yeah.
now
Nobody
you,
likes to get behind. you
now
know?
they have to try. Now you have to try to adjust to try to help them catch up. And Lord knows what's going through their mind, right?
Right.
Right.
Trying
It's
to catch up.
overwhelming, yeah.
Oh, it can be very overwhelming.
Right. And one of the other things that could happen, unfortunately, is that some students are sick at the beginning of the school year. They get sick or injured, or something happened over the summer that affects their life. Their life is totally different from the way it was when they left school at the beginning of the summer. They could have had a family tragedy happen over the summer. They could have lost a parent. They could have, like I said before, lost a home or moved to somewhere unfamiliar. So teachers and students and the entire staff at the school has to make sure that we're all aware that young people are going through these stresses or could be going through these stresses when they come back.
Yeah, and it's and like I said, because if they don't have the proper tools, psychological, emotional tools, right, that's when it becomes distress. And then they're surrounded by, depending on what level, people that don't understand. Their friends don't understand. New school, I'm trying to make friends. Of course, I'm retired military from the Air Force, so military kids had to deal with this all the time. They would move, and now you have to go and make new friends, and very, very stressful on them. And a lot of times what happens, Brenda had talked about a little bit, what happens to a lot of young people when they get stressful, what can happen? You can start gaining weight. You can start, acne. You know what I mean? And all of these things start happening because they're already dealing with teenagers. Their body's already going through changes. Then you throw stress in there, and now it's even worse. And you start focusing on all the negative things that are wrong with you. You perceive.
Yeah. Another big one that I've heard a lot of the young people, just being around young people, I heard them talk about not being able to sleep. And that's really, really big to me, because if you're lacking sleep, it just throws off
Affects
everything
everything.
in your life. So as an adult, I know that I have to have my sleep. I can't imagine a young person who's discovering themselves and starting school, and they're not able to sleep, and they have to get up and go to school and
try to
then
focus.
deal with
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
So that's important too.
And research has shown that teenagers need more sleep. Their bodies, they need more sleep. They should get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And I was talking to some teenagers out at the festival because they were there working with us. And I said, we were talking about that the schedules should really be flipped, where the high school kids are
Go
the
later,
last,
yeah.
going later, and the younger kids go first. But the high school kids that were there that I was talking to about it, they agreed, I said, well, if you did that, the high school kids would just stay up later.
Yeah.
They go, yeah, we wouldn't go to bed. We wouldn't go to bed at the same
Right,
time.
right.
We would just stay up later on our phones or whatever,
Yeah.
because wow, we don't have to get up until later. So now we go to bed later. So it I guess it'd be a hard thing to actually change. and get them to actually change their behavior, because their natural behavior is going to be to, I'll just stay up later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I don't
got
have
a couple extra hours.
Yeah,
so
I got a couple extra
why would
hours.
I use them
so
to sleep?
Sleep, yeah, I can go to bed at 2 o'clock. You know, so when you're dealing with this stress, your body responds to stress. You know, when something first happens, the first thing is you have this awareness. Well, it's like if you're at home and something goes bump in the night, right?
You're startled.
You're startled.
Yeah.
You're alert, and that's, you know, our bodies is created. God created us that way. You wouldn't want to be a person that has no reaction to stress, because you could really hurt yourself, right? You know, if you didn't have any. If you just, oh, something's wrong. Oh, just heard the window crash, and you're just, oh well, I guess it'll be all right. No, you better. You know what I mean? You better. You know. So the alarm goes off. So the initial alarm is going to go off, and you're going to respond. But then once you respond, you assess, and then your tools that you have within you are what's going to cause you to respond in a positive way or respond in a negative way. And then, as we've been talking about all these changes, when you don't respond in a negative way, that's when you go into distress and things start happening to your body, right? And then you'll also get into resistance. Okay, I'm just going to resist it. Stress response. The body adapts to the rush created by the alarm. And then you go, okay, all right, let me just chill, or what we call fight or flight. Do I stand or do I retreat? It was the old saying, a good run is better than a bad stand, right? You know, so you better know when to, you know, hold them, when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. Kenny Rogers, right?
Yeah.
So you have to know that. But what happens with all the stress and not being able to manage it is you end up with fatigue. Brenda had talked about that. And I know, you know, we're around a lot of kids, but teaching high school and that, what is that disease that kids get? Mono.
Yeah.
Mono is very prevalent. And I believe mono is a reaction to the failure to deal with stress
Of your body not getting
of
the
your
right
body
rest,
not getting the right rest,
Yeah.
not dealing with all your stressors that you have to deal with, and then all of a sudden, you know, your body is just all messed up.
Yeah.
We know adults all the time, right? Can't sleep. Oh, I only get 2 or 3 hours of sleep. Why? Because you don't know how to turn your mind off.
Yeah.
Your mind is
true.
just gone, and you know, and so all kinds of things happen. And with teenagers, and let's look at some of these symptoms of stress in teens so that parents will see, and you know, sort of wrap up here. Pay attention to your teenagers. Pay attention to your students. If there is a change in them that you know that they're
Something's not
normally
right,
and
yeah.
outgoing, and now all of a sudden school is drawing nigh, and all of a sudden they're withdrawing, and you know, you see some mental changes in them. Pay attention, right?
Right. You might notice that they're very moody. Moodiness, you'll see a big change, and all of a sudden they're very moody. They're complaining of headaches. That's a sign of stress. They don't have energy. They don't want to do the things that they normally want to do. They don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to do anything. That could be a big red flag that they're stressing. They become violent. They start acting in ways and saying things that are mean, or just, you know, it's taken to another level. They're not just angry, but now they're violent, maybe with their siblings. Or they completely withdraw. They don't want to be around anyone. They're usually outgoing, they're usually with the family, but now they stay by themselves all the time. They want their room locked up in their room type of thing. So that could be a sign of stress. Again, the changes in sleeping and eating. Don't want to eat anymore, don't want their favorite foods, always saying that they're not hungry. All of these are signs of stress. A big one is suicidal thoughts, or talking in very negative and doom and gloom about their life. And that's very important, because we know suicide rates among young people have skyrocketed. So we want to make sure that we're listening listening, not just listening on the surface, but really listening to what the young people are saying. Are they talking doom and gloom? Are they suicidal? Are they having thoughts that they could possibly harm themselves?
And it's one of those things that I always tell my students, I tell everybody, I'm a pastor, I tell them, you know, at church, if you hear someone using that kind of language, that is not the thing you keep a secret. You tell. You know what I mean?
Right.
You say, hey, you tell their parent, you tell someone that, hey, I don't like the way they're talking. They'll thank you later because you saved their life. You don't, you
Right.
know, that's not a secret that you keep when someone's, and a lot of
Sharing with
times,
you, yeah.
yeah, share that kind of information. And I've had, you know, that goes back, one of the worst days ever is having one of my students commit suicide, you know, and sitting in a classroom and asking young people, who in here knows someone who have committed suicide, and see half of the hands go up. That shouldn't be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That shouldn't be. And sort of wrap it up on this, and we look at all, there's many effects, and we'll talk about this some more, but adults have to understand that the stressors that are going on in their life create stress in their children. If you're going through a divorce, I teach a lot of classes, parenting classes and that, and I talk to men all the time who are still dealing with the stresses of their parents divorcing when they were a child. And they're still dealing with
Yeah. It's forever. Yeah.
it. Yeah, and they're, you know, and they're still, you know, here they are now in their 30s and 40s and still trying to figure out. I was talking to a young man recently, he's in his 20s. He doesn't know his dad left, and he can't figure out. And he said every time, and this kid smiles all the time. The guys go, man, you always have a smile on your face. He said, I smile all the time, but I'm hurting inside.
Yeah.
It was his last week. I talked.
Huh.
He said, I smile all the time, but I'm really messed up. My dad left. I don't know why. And every time I talk to him, and when I get ready to approach that subject, he'll go, no,
can't.
let's go do something else. And he said, I'm hurting. So a lot of young people are hurting. A lot of older people are hurting because of things that have happened that they had no control over.
Right.
So if your life is you're going through some changes, whether it's separation, divorce, whatever, do not think that your kid is just going to automatically be okay. They
Yeah.
might need counseling or whatever. So we'll get into this some more as we go forward.
All right, so today we talked about what stress is and some of the signs of stress, and then next month you'll talk about how to handle it and how to deal with it.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, and thanks for coming back this after a little summer break there.
Yes.
So glad you're back, and we'll look forward to next month's topic as well. So thank you for watching Family Matters. I'm Kyle Schwartz.